Has anyone ever said to you, why are you going there by yourself? Do you not have any friends that can go with you and you go as a group? How about, why are you even traveling to that place by yourself? How do you know it's even safe? Or my personal favorite, oh, you're here by yourself? I'm sorry. Well, if you've heard that, I guarantee you're just like me. Hi, everyone. This is April, and welcome to my brand new podcast called My Solo Chronicles, where I explore places that have taken me out of my comfort zone. And with this podcast, I want to be able to encourage others to just get out and enjoy life, to enjoy the activities they've always wanted to do, even if it's by yourself, and not be afraid or ashamed to do it. So sit back and enjoy My Solo Chronicles. Now, most people that know me or, they meet me and they ask about, what have you done? Where are you from? That type of stuff. I usually tell them, I'm from Michigan, Detroit, represent. And I tell them, you know what? I've gotten to experience and live in three other places that I pretty much had on my bucket list, and also had a bucket list of where I wanted to travel. So I lived in New York for like a year, almost 7 years. Came back to Michigan, and then ended up during COVID, of all times, going over and living in London, which London was one of the places where I said I wanted to pretty much, live, even if it was for like a couple of months. I just wanted to go and experience it, because I always say there's nothing like going and visiting a place, whether you're moving there or you're just visiting. you know it's nothing like going there in person, as opposed to going on based on what you see on television, what you may read in books and read online. So yeah, so I got to live in New York for like almost 7 years. Like I said, I came back to Michigan, then ended up going out to the UK for probably like about like 5 to 6 months. And then I came back to the States because I was actually in England for school. So I came back to the States, ended up moving out to California, where I'm kind of based now temporarily. I'm actually leaving California soon, but that's for a whole different podcast. But anyways, last year I had wanted to take a trip, and instead of like going like back to London again, I wanted to kind of go somewhere else. And on my bucket list of places to travel was Japan. And I thought about going there for like the longest. Japan has been on my radar for years. Now, I'm not an anime fan. No offense to anybody that's an anime fan, but I really didn't want to go to Japan because of that. I just wanted to like go, and I always said, you know what? One day I'm going to go there. So last year, that one day came. So, and what was so crazy was, it was like, I always say I'm a big procrastinator. Procrastinator is my middle name. I will say I'm going to do something, and I will plan for it, and I will plan for it, and I will plan for it. I can be planning for months before whatever, I'm planning for actually takes place. So I had been saying for maybe about like, I want to say 6, 7 months, I'm going to Japan. Now, mind you, I had no idea where I was going to stay. I had no idea how much money I was going to take. I had no idea what airline I was going to fly. I had no idea on nothing. I just knew I was going to go to Japan. But the crazy thing was, I knew I was going to do it by myself. Um, I'm any My close friends and family will tell you I'm quick to go and do something by myself. I will not sit and wait on anybody, because my motto is, if you sit and wait on people to come with you, you'll never go and experience it. And I didn't want to just sit around and wait and try to figure out who would be interested in going with me. So anyway, so last year I decided I'm going to Japan. So I had to start planning, okay, what month would be good to go to Japan. I heard Japan the summertime can be really, really hot. And I don't or I didn't want to be in Japan while it's like scorching hot. Story about that coming up. But anyways, it was like, I knew I wanted to go in Japan like around like fall, autumn time. So I ended up picking September, mid-September. I thought it was going to be perfect. So I didn't want to go for like 2 weeks. I'm also the type of individual where you give me about a good 5 days and I'm good. I don't want to be somewhere for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because then by that time I'm starting to get bored, because in my mind, I know exactly what I want to do when I go there. And it's just like, I don't care where it is I travel. And it's like, by the time I do all of that, I break it up in days. By the time I do all of that, I'm over it. It's just like I'm over the trip. So yeah, so I said, you know what, the most I want to do is like maybe a week. So once I narrowed that down, I ended up deciding on, like I said, which airline I was going to fly. So this was planning. This was like 5, 6 months planning. So I wanted to make sure, that, I definitely wanted to do this. Now, believe it or not, I actually bought my plane ticket, paid for my Airbnb, which my Airbnb was in Manado. And it was like I had like booked all of that before I even knew I was going to get approved for vacation time at my job. So yeah, that's how, confident I was that I was going to get this, that I was actually going to do this trip. So I ended up getting approved maybe about 4 months before I was due to fly out in September. And let me tell you, I was so nervous because even though I lived in London, people over there spoke all types of languages, English, French, Spanish, Italian. I just ran into so many different cultures over in the UK. It was like, okay, at least the primary language that I would come across would be English. With Japan, that was taking me out of my comfort zone, because I'm going into a country where I heard, oh, you hear, the naysayers, oh, they don't speak any English, you're a foreigner, you're a black female, how do you know this is even going to be safe for you? And a lot of people did ask me, do you even speak Japanese? And I was like, no, I don't. And I mean, I was studying a little bit, which I still am studying Japanese, but it was just like, I just wanted to go to the country. It's like, I'm not going to let not being able to speak the language hold me back from going over there. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't going to let any negativity, interfere with me going over to Japan. So, like I said, I got approved. Everything was booked up. And it really didn't hit me that I was actually going to Japan until I actually was on the plane and we were backing up from the gate. And like I said, I went mid-September, and it was just like, as soon as the plane started backing up from the gate, that's when it clicked, like, oh my gosh, I'm actually about to fly over to one of my most favorite countries ever that I've always dreamt of. I'm actually about to do this, and I'm doing this by myself. And I have no idea what's going to happen when I get over there. So just the whole time, the whole flight, like I left on a Monday and I arrived on a Tuesday. So the next day, it was just like all these butterflies, all this excitement about, oh, this is what I was going to do. I can't wait to do this and do that. It was just all this, just this pent up excitement and nervousness, definitely being cautious. It's like, am I really going to be safe over there? Should I even really be doing this? But you know what? It was too late to back out, because I was, like I said, we were already on the plane. The plane was backing up from the gate, and I was like, well, you know what? Just got to roll with it. Let me tell you, when the plane landed at the airport, and I actually flew into Haneda, when the plane landed at Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan, and I got off the plane, as soon as I was walking towards customs, I was in awe that this girl right here actually took a trip to Japan, and I'm literally walking on like international soil, that I'm in another foreign country. It was just amazing. And it was like, as I was walking through the airport, which, by the way, it's a long walk. I mean, it's a good, like, what, I want to say maybe 30-45 minute walk from the plane that I got off of to customs. And I mean, you're walking. It's a good probably mile. I could be wrong. Somebody can let me know, but I tell you, it was like a good mile of walking, to the point where halfway I had to stop at the bathroom because I was like, okay, are we eventually gonna get like to customs? Are we even still in the airport? We was walking so much. But yeah, it was just, but even then I was still just excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm taking this long walk, down this corridor that's going forever as I'm going to customs. And as soon as I walked into customs, it was like a mind blown thing. I mean, you had people from all over. It was mainly, from what I noticed, it was mainly like Japanese citizens that looked like they were either coming back or they were going. But I didn't see too many foreigners when I landed, or at least I didn't pay attention to it. But my experience, I'm thinking like, okay, this is where stuff is going to hit the fan, because if I don't have like the proper paperwork filled out or whatever, they're going to put me right back on the plane and send me back right back to the US. Let me tell you, y'all, oh my gosh, the people that work at this airport were absolutely amazing. Now, I will say the airport personnel that I dealt with spoke no English, and I only knew certain phrases. And I can't say mizu, which is water, in Japanese. They're going to be looking at me like, what? I'm asking you if you're carrying something like illegal. So, but they were absolutely amazing. They were very patient with me. They helped me navigate through like the stuff that I may have skipped on the paper. They were able to help me. Point A, you need to fill this out, fill this out. So it was just absolutely amazing. And as soon as I'm thinking I'm going to have to pop open my bag and show them everything that's in my suitcase, and they're going to rummage through it, and they're going to say, you can't bring this in, you can't bring that in. Because let me tell you, okay, like I said earlier, I'm from Detroit. And if you go through, Detroit is like across the water from Canada. And we say, Windsor is like our sister country, because we literally, you can travel back and forth through Detroit and in Windsor through either the tunnel or across the Ambassador Bridge. But let me tell you, when you go through customs, especially on the Canadian side, oh, if they even suspect that you have something that you shouldn't be having in your bag, that whole entire suitcase and everything else you got is coming to their office. They're going to make you open it up. Trust me, I know, because I had some Christmas gifts a while back that I had to literally unwrap. So I was prepared for customs because I was so used to it. But when I got to the last individual that I was dealing with before I actually go right into the, into the terminal to try to find the way to get to the train that I needed to take to my Airbnb, this gentleman was amazing. Really quick, he pointed to certain things on the forms. I either said yes, no, and through customs I went. Altogether, I literally was in customs, and I can only speak for me because, other people, it might be totally different, but I know for me, I was maybe in customs, I want to say probably about 15-20 minutes, and then I was in the main airport. So it was like a quick thing for me. So I was like, okay, we got this part down. And then came, oh my gosh, I have to change my US money for Japanese yen. Now, I wouldn't advise this for everybody, and I'm the type that like to, fly by the seat of my pants. I only transferred $350 of US money. And I think when they converted it to yen, I think I had it was like 40,000 yen, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to really go back and really look at it, but I had enough money to last me until the end of my trip. And I still came back with almost what I went to Japan with. So once I figured out that, situation of how to transfer my money, which again, everybody that was at the counters, they had people that were like, not greeters, but people that were pointing passengers in the direction where they were, wherever they were trying to go. Once I transferred my money, I was like, okay, how am I going to get from my Airbnb to, from Haneda Airport to my Airbnb? That was my next concern, because I'm just like, I have no idea how to read some of this, bulletin board stuff that was coming up. So I'm like, how am I going to do this? I literally just say, you know what? I'm going to throw caution to the wind, and I'm just going to just start asking people. I mean, I came over here to experience the whole Japanese culture, the environment, everything. So I walk up to this one person, and she was absolutely amazing. I held up my phone with my Airbnb information on it, and all I said was, here. And she looked and she goes, ah. And the only thing she could say in English was, wait. And I said, okay. So she goes and helps other people. And then she comes back and she says, she kind of motions to me to hand her my my phone so I can show her my Airbnb to where I was going. She literally took a map. Now, I think you have to pay for these maps. Well, I didn't pay for this map. She grabs a map that you can pull out, and it just gives you a whole, like, you can see everything, like Tokyo, everything, wherever you may be going was on that map. No kidding. She literally mapped from point A to point B. So she mapped from where I was standing in the airport all the way to the front entrance of my Airbnb, all the way down to when I get on the train. And I still actually have that map. That is part of my souvenirs little portfolio I have, but I still have that map. And when I tell you, she kept putting up her fingers like for two, and she said, train. And I was like, so she was basically telling me, go. In Japanese, she was telling me, to go this certain direction. And then when I get to, this direction, get to this area, take the escalators up. And then I'm going to get on the number 2 train that's going to take me to Minado, where I was going to be staying. And literally, I followed that to a T. And that's one of the reasons why I keep the map, because that helps me remember. That was the first act of kindness that I received when I got to Japan. And that was, I mean, you can't get any more heartfelt than that, yeah? So, I get to the Airbnb, and even though it says it's an Airbnb, it was actually like a mini hotel, which was nice. And it was in the heart of everything. The train ride alone was amazing too, because it was just like, and what I loved, it was like the trains reminded me so much of taking the London Tube, because it was confusing, for one. And anyone that's been on the London Tubes, I don't care where you travel to in London, or you can get confused and you can get turned around, everything. And that's kind of how, like, the Japanese subway system kind of reminded me, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I like that it started off with Japanese announcements first, as well as the signage would be like in complete Japanese. And within, like, I want to say 5-10 seconds, you hear this English speaker come on announcing the next stops as the train is going, as well as the signage. Literally, they're turning from Japanese to English, so you knew, okay, what the next stop was, or what stop you just left from. So that was like totally amazing. I was like, okay, I think I got this. So I ended up getting to, like I said, because I'm still following the map of how the lady mapped it for me, and I get to my Airbnb, and it was absolutely just, I was blown away by the area where I was at, number one. But I also wanted to make sure that I stayed as close to, like, the main attractions that I wanted to see. And one of the main attractions I wanted to see was actually Tokyo Tower. I said, if I didn't do anything in Japan, I'm going to the Tokyo Tower, and that's exactly what I did. So I was like in walking distance of that, maybe by like 15 minutes. I was walking distance from Tokyo Tower. I was in walking distance of the Tokyo Rainbow Bridge. So yeah, I made sure I was in walking distance to quite a few things because I knew I was going to be walking a lot if I wasn't going to be doing like the train system or anything like that. Um, and remember when I said how I wanted to go at a time where I knew the weather wasn't hot? Well, it was blazing. It was absolutely blazing. When I say I felt like I had walked through the depth of hell, I did. My first 2 days, it was so hot that my second day, because my first day I really didn't go out too much because I was getting to my Airbnb kind of later in the afternoon, so I pretty much was exhausted. So I slept that first whole day. But that second day, oh my gosh, it was so hot. So once I recovered from like the jet lag and the travel to my Airbnb, I finally ventured out the second day, and like I said, it was so hot. So I ended up deciding, okay, I wanted to actually head towards like the Rainbow Bridge, which was not far from me as well. So I wanted to just walk around, discover the area, see, what Monado had to offer, a solo traveler such as myself. So I started walking, and I come across this one attraction. It's called the NTV clock, and this artwork is huge. You could, when the time struck every hour, you could hear it. I don't care where you were at, you could definitely hear it. It is so beautiful. So if you ever go to Japan, definitely make an effort to go. It's in Monado, and it's called the NTV clock, and it is huge, and it has like the little characters that like kind of go in and out of the clock. Oh my gosh, I got sidetracked. I was so enthralled in this clock that I wasted I think I was standing there for maybe a half an hour just looking at it, taking videos, taking pictures, everything like that. So once I came to my senses and I'm standing in the extreme heat with my umbrella, I started walking. And the path that I took was right along the riverfront of near the Rainbow Bridge. As you get closer, it's like I was walking along this river walk path, and you had like a little mini garden, just things you could look at. It was like, I guess, where like naval ships come in, you could actually, walk past that. So it was a good view for a hot day. But I'm gonna tell you, I walked halfway across the Rainbow Bridge, and I said, you know what, this is nice. I think I'm gonna head back because I didn't want to walk too far, and I felt like I was getting a little heat exhaustion. Even though I had brung a bottle of water, which was a bad mistake. I should have brung more than just one bottle of water, but I didn't want to walk too far and then have a difficult time getting back to my Airbnb. So as I'm walking back, I'm halfway to my Airbnb, and I come across this park, which is, and I think I'm saying it correctly, it's the Shiba Park. And it was almost like squirrel, because I just got so sidetracked, and I'm looking at the fish that were literally jumping out of the water. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. As I'm burning up from the heat, bright red, y'all, bright red. That was me. That was my skin color. And it was just so amazing. I was just blown away. And as I'm going to turn to walk away from the park, because you did have to pay to get in there, and that wasn't one of my stops to go into, so I wasn't gonna, go through there and, sightsee or whatever. But it did look beautiful. From a distance, I see the Tokyo Towers, and I'm just like, oh, that's my target, and that's where I will end up going the next day, because that was gonna just like be a full day the following day that I was going to go to the Tokyo Tower, but I managed to get like a picture of it from far away. So I was just so excited. And the thing about it is too, it's just like I said previously, when you're so used to seeing things on television or in a book or online, to actually see that object or that monument, that iconic monument in person, it just puts you in awe. And I was in awe. And that was even before I even, got there the next day. I will say though, once I got back to my Airbnb, I decided to kind of stay in because it really was hot, and I ended up having like a real bad case of I wouldn't say I was going into a heat stroke, but I definitely was feeling it, and I didn't want to continue the chance going out and continuing to walk in the heat because I had already been outside for hours just walking around Minado. So by the time I got back to my Airbnb, I could wring out my book bag, my clothes I had on, and my hat to the point where I could literally fill up probably maybe a glass of water because it looked like I had went swimming. That's just how hot and how sweaty I had got. But you know what? I was not going to let the heat deter me from enjoying the rest of, the days that I had in Japan. So I get up the following day, and lo and behold, guess what? Oh, it decides it's going to rain all day. You know what? I did not even care. I says, I got things I want to see. I got things I want to do, and I'm going to do it. But this time I actually dressed a little bit lighter than I did the day before. So I ended up going to the Imperial Palace. But on my way to the Imperial Palace, I walked through this huge, very greenery park that's like literally like right across the way from the entrance going into the Imperial Park. And it also, I was over by the infamous Tokyo train station that everybody tries to go and get pictures in front of and everything. So I was actually over there. And when I walked through the little gateway that you go through to go to the front entrance of the Imperial Palace, it was just like I had to literally hold my breath and go, oh my gosh, because I've seen the Imperial Palace on television, and I never thought in a million years that I would end up being outside the gates of this royal household, So, and just to see the changing of the guards, even though it was raining, it was just awe-inspiring, just so amazing. And I'm going to be using amazing a lot because I was amazed through this whole entire trip. It was just awesome to be there and just stand there in the rain, still a little hot, but not overly hot, just watching this and taking in just the surroundings and everything. And then, of course, my next stop, I walked in the rain. I walked in the rain from the Imperial Palace because remember I told you this is going to be an all day thing. So I came prepared this time. I walked from the Imperial Palace all the way to Tokyo, the Tokyo Towers. And I paid, I think it was like 22,000 yen to actually go up all the way to the very top of the Tokyo Towers. Now, I just want to say, I would not have been able to do this trip without the local people, the citizens of Japan, helping me navigate this country. In all honesty, I have a tendency to tell people, if you look at my eyes and I look lost, 9 times out of 10, I am. And I was amazed at how people would be willing to just walk up and help me. You know what I'm saying? Point me in the right direction. Whether they spoke English very well, whether they spoke just maybe one or two words of English, or if they didn't speak English at all. People were just so tremendously amazing and willing to just help this foreigner. You know what I'm saying? This U.S. foreigner that was just visiting their country for X amount of days, And that's, I'll never, that's something out of everything that I saw when I was in Japan, that's something I'll never ever, take for granted, and I will always remember that, and that would always be, in my heart. It just so heartwarming. So I walked to Tokyo Tower. I do the whole, touristy thing over there. I actually went up, like I said, went up in the very top of the Tokyo Tower, which in itself was just like, whoa. So, because it's literally a whole, like, you go around the whole top of Tokyo Towers, 360, and you get to see the city of, Tokyo. And it's definitely an amazing sight to take in. And one of the funniest things too, I go into the gift shop that's there in Tokyo Towers, and I was still kind of learning, the currency of Japan, and I went and bought like a T-shirt, and I bought a magnet, and I bought something else, and the lady says, she tells me the price. And I hand her like the biggest bill that I had in Japanese yen. And she looks at me and she kind of laughs and she motions for me to give her my wallet. This is just how comfortable I felt and how safe I felt. I handed her my whole entire wallet and she took out the amount that she needed. And it was a small bill. And I was like, okay. And we both had a chuckle, but she spoke no English. None. At least she didn't speak it to me, but she was so nice about it that she didn't look at me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this tourist has no idea how much I'm asking her to pay me. She was she was really, really awesome about the whole entire process. So once I did that, I went to it's a famous temple that's right over there, and forgive me if I can't remember the name, but I ended up walking over there, and then I ended up hopping on a train. Now I'm just gonna tell y'all, my trip was 3.5 days. That's how long my trip was. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to see. I never felt rushed in those 3.5 days. Yeah. So if you take away the time that I landed, after that first day of me being there, I had 3.5 days to do what I needed to do. And I actually did everything. I ended up hopping on the train, going to Shinjuku. I think I said that correctly. Walked around there. I ended up almost going to Shibuya, but I kind of stopped halfway because I wanted to spend a full day there, which is what I did the following day. So I went to Shibuya. I went to a lot of the little areas in Shibuya, like saw some anime things. Like I said, I'm not a big anime fan. I do watch anime, but I'm not a huge fan like that. But I was able just to see, Shibuya it's on a whole new level. Let me tell you, it's on a whole new level, and I loved every bit of it. And of course, I had to go to the very famous crosswalk. Now, I come out of the Shibuya train station, and I says, okay, I saw Starbucks, and I was like, okay, I need to get across the street to Starbucks. It was like a chaotic, fun madhouse. It was like Starbucks was like across from where I had just came out of the train station. And when the light turned green, even though it was mad crazy packed, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And people were like looking at me. They were laughing, giving me thumbs up. It was like I was at an amusement park, but I was just crossing the street just to go to the Starbucks across the way. But at least I can't say I did it. I definitely did it. And then the highlight of that day, just to wrap up that day, I ended up going to, they call it, I believe it's the Shibuya building, where you can go to the 72nd floor and it's called Shibuya Sky. And again, just like Tokyo Towers, you literally see the whole entire city 360. And it was hot. It had rained a little bit, but not as hard as it did early up in the day when I started. But it was just I was able to go up there and just say, hey, I finally did something I've seen YouTubers post on their YouTube page, pictures I've seen. It was like, okay, I'm actually here. And I couldn't have wrapped up that day any better. It was just amazing. And then at the day after that, I ended up taking the bullet train to Kyoto. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I was only in Kyoto for a little bit. Kyoto was packed. And I get it. But it was packed. And the first thing I said to myself, I said, "Oh, I don't know how long I'm gonna be staying here," because it was hot, but it was packed too. But I got to see some things, and I will recommend definitely do Kyoto, regardless to the crowd. Try to fight through it, y'all. Try to fight through it. I said the next time I go to Japan, I'm definitely gonna go to Kyoto, but I think I would like to stay for like a couple of days just to really, really get a feel of Kyoto. So the trip to Japan for me was the ultimate highlight of my life. I've done a lot of things. I've experienced so much as far as like after COVID. And I say this a lot. If COVID has not taught us anything, it should have taught us to enjoy life, grab it by the horns, and live it to the fullest. Because you don't know when your last is. And I got to the point, especially after I lost my mom in 2016, and she's really the catalyst for a lot of the things that I now do. When I lost her, I said, you know what? My mom had so many hopes and dreams that she wanted to do that she never got a chance to fulfill. Or she felt like, well, it was too late for her. She couldn't fulfill it. Especially being a woman, oh, I don't want to do anything by myself because I don't want to be looked at weird. And I took that and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to let the world dictate to me, as a female. Oh, you shouldn't travel here. You shouldn't do this. You got to be careful because you don't know if it's safe or not. And you know what? The world can be safe if you do things accordingly and you do it, I would say do it knowing that knowing that you don't know when you're gonna ever be able to do it again, if that makes sense. It's like, don't be afraid. Or like I had heard someone say, you know what, do it afraid. So to do this trip was like a lifelong dream. I can now tick it off my box because I did it. But yeah, and I want to end with, okay, when it was time for me to leave, oh my gosh, I don't know why. One, I didn't want to leave. That's the thing, because I had been so welcome and everybody had been so helpful. And it was just like, I hate to leave this country because I love it now. I done fell in love with it. I want to be here forever. But, of course, you got to go home. All good things must come to an end, yeah? So I'm going to the train station. I navigated through there, and I got, to the train station, got to the airport. My flight was to leave from Haneda with a layover in Osaka, and then from Osaka straight to San Francisco. I'm sorry, San Francisco, and then on to LAX. So it was kind of like going to be another full day, but it was going to be almost a straight shot, I guess you could say, because I wasn't traveling, the same amount of hours I did when I was going over to Tokyo, if you can look at it like that. So I tell this story to everyone, and I'm going to try not to get too emotional because you couldn't make this up. I couldn't write this any better. So I'm at the airport at Haneda, and I still had like maybe 2 hours before my flight boarded. So I got to the airport tremendously early because I knew that I probably would have to go through customs, and then I had to figure out where my gate was. So that was like my main thing right there. So I'm sitting at, almost near my gate, and out the corner of my eye, I see this elderly Japanese lady coming towards me. And I had my headphones in, but I see her. So as she walks up to me, she's kind of motioning to me like she's trying to tell me something. And so I take my headphones off, and she's speaking Japanese. Like I said, I don't speak Japanese. I know certain phrases. And so there was a gentleman that was actually sitting behind me. So we were like back to back. So she's asking me through him, because he sees the transaction going on, but he finally turned around and he says, I'm going to tell you what she's saying. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. And he's Japanese, but he speaks really good English. So he says that she was asking me, where did I come from? And I told her the U.S. And now all of this transaction is going through him. He's translating for me and as well as for her. So she asks, where did I come from? I told her the U.S. She asks, where am I going back? And I said, Los Angeles. I'm California. And I asked her through him where she's going. And she puts out her left hand and she points to the fourth finger on her hand. Come to find out, she was saying, I'm going to visit. I thought she was saying she was going to visit her husband, but she was saying, I'm going to visit my father-in-law. And I asked, where? And she says, Osaka. I say, and she asks, why did I come to Japan? And I said to her, I says, to see the country. And I put up a heart sign with my hands and I said, love. And through the gentleman that was translating, she asked, what did I love about Japan? And all I could say was, the people. And she gets teary-eyed, no kidding. She gets teary-eyed and she grabs my hand and in English, she says, come back. Please, come back. And the gentleman looked at me and he starts laughing. He says, well, I don't have to translate that, do I? And I says, no, you do not. She became my grandma for that split second because she made sure that the gate agents knew where I was sitting. When it was time to board, she made sure that I was at the correct gate. And she made sure that, I had my ticket to get on the flight. She literally guided me the whole time I was at the airport, and there was no English, no language that we had in common. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was so heartwarming. It was so heartwarming. So I say to anybody that's interested in going to Japan, don't be afraid if they don't speak your language, if you don't know how to navigate, because you can do it. You can do it, and it can be done because I did it. Especially as a single woman, it can be done. Don't let nobody deter you from, not going to visit this amazing, this beautiful country. Because I almost was like, when people would say, you need to learn, you need to know how to speak Japanese in order to communicate with the locals there. I never had an issue. If anything, because I didn't speak the language or I was having issues trying to speak the language, they were even more willing to help me because they saw that I came into their country, or as I tell people, you're going into their home. I respected their home. And just the outpouring of just being helpful. I would not have been able to literally do this trip without that. So yes, that's the adventure or the story behind my adventure going to Japan. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you continue to tune in for more of my solo chronicles. Next week, I'm going to be talking about my return back to London. And I think besides the Japan trip, this trip was absolutely just a heartstring tugging type of trip. So Stay tuned. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to My Solo Chronicles, exploring places beyond my comfort zone. Take care, Moonbeams. Bye.